Welcome to the Impact of AI Explored podcast, hosted by James O'Regan and Gerjon. Created by and for IT professionals, we focus on how AI reshapes our daily work. With AI insights growing every day, we cut through the noise to deliver what matters most. Join us as we explore the latest breakthroughs, share best practices, and empower you to make the most of AI in your career.
Hi everyone, welcome to the latest episode of the Impact of AI Explored. We have a great episode today and we have a great guest. So we're going to be talking about AI agents. You know, are they hype? What are they essentially? So we have on to talk about this Dan Boyles. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Pleasure to be here. We've had an interesting chat so far, so let's keep that energy, keep it going.
Oh, there's lots ahead. That's the way we do it. So Dan, just give us a little bit of intro and a little bit of background about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Dan Boyles. I'm head of AI at a company called First AI Group. We formed about a year ago, and we simply help businesses adopt AI in all different forms and all different ways. Predominantly playing in the Microsoft and the Copilot space at the moment. And yeah, we work with companies. We don't sell the solution. Once they've got the licenses and the solution there, we go in, we build their strategies, we look at their security, we look at their rollouts, their needs, their agent opportunities. And then we spend sort of 3 to 6 months with every businesses just doing that sort of real hands-on change and adoption piece, which is really exciting. Really, really exciting at the moment. Previously at Microsoft for about 8 years before that, worked in all different areas of the business. So I've been working in the Azure side of it, when HCI and cloud kind of first launched out from there. Server 2019, modern workplace, and now here I am in the world of Copilot. So
very
exciting.
good, very good. So
the interesting world of AI.
Indeed,
Interesting.
Yeah. So let's start off like everyone and their donkey is talking about AI agents at the moment, in fairness, and there's a lot of kind of. So first of all, maybe Dan, if you start out saying what is an actual AI agent, because I think that's where a lot of the confusion and FUD is out there, because basically some things are not AI. What is an actual AI agent?
Yeah, so that for me that's the $1 million question that we need to either educate people enough to sort of fully understand the differences between, or shift the perception of it. Because Microsoft have been really good at getting Copilot and AI into the conversation. But actually what a lot of people think are agents, especially the ability to build your own agent and go into Copilot Studio, is actually just automation. It's Power Virtual Agent that's been rewrapped into Copilot Studio, and it uses elements of AI into making an agent of something that's going to help you in your business, whether it be a simple kind of search and retrieve, whether it's a HR agent or a sales agent around there. But it's not a true agent. A true agent for me is something that can go off. It can reason. It can take multiple points of data. It can make a judgment based on what you've given it, and it will give you an output it thinks you want rather than what you've programmed it to want. And I used a really good analogy, or I stole a really good analogy. I'm not even going to claim it. Is that the difference between a true agent and what we think of an agent is, if I want to I live near Heathrow, and if I want to drive to Gatwick Airport,
why would you want to do that?
Sometimes it's cheaper to fly from Gatwick. All right, I can't afford to fly from Heathrow. Let's put it that way all the time.
Fair enough.
If we take an agent that we build ourselves, or like a Power Virtual agent or an automation, that would be me getting into my car, programming it into the sat nav, following those instructions, because it only knows the instructions. I only know what it's given me to do, and I have to follow it to get to the airport. Right? A true agent would be me getting in my car and saying, "Get me to Gatwick." And if there's traffic, it would put me on the train. If it was quicker, it would put me on a plane, and it would get me there without any interaction from me at all. Okay, Dan, I will get you to where I need to go. And I think that's where there's a bit of misjudgment, is that a true agent understands what you need. It understands the data. It can operate outside this kind of strict, you must do this. And if this is this happens, and it gives you what you need. And that is very expensive to get, and it's very time consuming. But what we do have is kind of really easily achievable, kind of pretty much free power space and free space in the Power Automate agent route.
So what you're essentially saying is we don't have AI agents yet.
We do. We're working on some. They are expensive. They're long to build. They have to be hosted on local LLMs. You need hardware or private infrastructure to run it. because either your token, your consumption, or your cloud consumption is going to go through the roof. So, true agents, and I'm sure we'll talk about this, what do we use an agent for? Something that's truly going to be either revenue generating, is going to solve a massive business issue or a business kind of challenge, requires a lot of power and a lot of programming, learning, and tweaking on there. So we're not really there at the moment, or everyone isn't.
Okay, that's a good opener. So
what do you think an agent is? I'm interested in here because you're in the tech world. What's an agent to you?
no, I think I'm very much on board with what you said. Is it's autonomous. It's where things for me in terms of AI, it's where things get a little bit scary, to be honest. So I'm kind of glad we're not at that stage yet, if I'm brutally honest about it. So if you're starting to give AIs autonomy, that's when the hairs on the back of my neck start to get a little bit stand up a bit. So I kind of feel, but there is just so much kind of hype around the term agents, and we've done, as well as the podcast, we did several presentations last year, and we were like talking about how 2025 is the year of the agent, and everyone was talking about 2025 is the year of the agent. And I think even we got caught up in the hype, and you've kind of spelled out there what an agent actually is. And I think what we have at the moment, we have AI tools that can do some autonomous stuff, but they're not true AI agents.
Yeah, absolutely. I would 100% agree with that. And it comes down to what your needs are. I think there's a hierarchy, right? The way that we look at it, there's a hierarchy in a triangle. And at the bottom, you've got your individual needs and your individual users. That is where we're playing at the moment. And that's where I think a lot of people need to play, to understand what are the needs of the individual. What's the bottlenecks for that individual? Is it the amount of administration you have to do after meetings? Is it creating customer facing decks? Is it accessing the right information, finding information? That's where we're playing at. Where it kind of steps up, and that's like no code. That is a no code solution that we can all do. We can use Copilot to build us that solution on there. If you're going to get into the low code piece, that's when we start looking at the departmental led stuff. So actually, from a departmental point, how can AI help an agent? Could it replace third-party spends? Could you build something for free that could take away a transcription tool or a formatting tool or a searching tool? And that's kind of, businesses like us, we play in that space quite comfortably, and we can build. And then you get into the organization at the tippy top of the triangle, and that's a real different ballgame, because that's shaping the strategy of your business. If we build agents and we start looking at that, and there's a reason it's a very small part of the triangle, is because that would impact things such as headcount, that would impact direct revenue generating, and that's a whole different ballgame. So yeah, absolutely. At the moment, I think we're in the low code, no code solution, the bottom two, and I'm quite happy with that, because there's a whole piece around AI. And we were just talking about self-driving cars. There's the self-driving car ethical conundrum. If we give AI automation to do what it wants, if you have £1 million and you have a child and the car has to hit one of them, AI would reason that it would be better to hit the child and save the money, because the child would cost more money than £1 million, right? That is a well-documented thing. Now, I know that's absolutely crazy. We all know that's crazy, but that's where AI is at the moment. Unless we program it, unless we make sure it removes all bias, businesses aren't really ready for that, I don't think.
Yeah, and just to stick on the self-driving cars, one of the things I think why it hasn't worked is humans are too irrational when it comes to driving. AI runs on logic, whereas we do irrational, stupid things when we're driving. And
on a daily basis.
On a daily basis. We're all guilty of it. And an AI doesn't think like that, or has not been programmed to think like that. And so I don't know how it's going to deal with when it's kind of, there is some autonomous cars and there's some human driven cars, and how that works together. Because maybe if all cars were AI driven, then this thing would work. But at the moment where we have a hybrid, that's just not going to work.
I think that's the same for businesses as well, is that, having personal agents, low code, no code stuff, that's really fun and it can really help us. But I was chatting to a company yesterday and we were talking around, having an HR agent. Well, if we take something really simple, such as if someone is late to work, or someone starts after the time they're supposed to start, or they're off for an unexplained period of time, well, a HR agent, if it was really autonomous and they followed the rules, it would go off and it would go, right, we could trigger what's the word? Could trigger an investigation, could trigger offboarding, it could trigger something formal. When really the human side is, I've said it's okay for that person to be off because they're working X, Y, and Z overtime or swapping days. So
Yeah, sick child
yeah,
or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So there's yeah, and that's why it's really expensive to build really good agents because it has to be locally trained, trained to your business, trained to your needs. An off the shelf one can't do that because it doesn't understand nuance.
it has to have
So
the values of the company embedded into the bot to make it
exactly,
a
yeah.
little bit more like your own. Yeah,
And businesses are struggling at the moment. What we're seeing, a lot of businesses are struggling to align what their strategy is, let alone having their AI ethical side of it, and defining their what AI would do for them. So we're still in the infancy. In that maturity model, we're
Mm.
not even on step one yet, I don't think.
no, and the way you say it with the triangle, I really like that, because believing that AI can help you start with your personal gain. And
Mm.
if your personal gain is good, then you can tell someone else to use it, and then you get on top of the pyramid. So it all
Yeah.
starts with what can it do for me and how can
Mm.
it help me. So it's a really cool
Yeah.
analogy using the triangle.
Yeah.
Yep. No, that's good. So, given where we are with these kind of low code, no code,
Mm.
what sort of use cases have you seen with those, Dan, that are
The
currently
biggest
being
ones.
being looked at?
Yeah, the biggest one. So we build agents. We build a lot of agents for a lot of people, and us. It's all things like HR agent. Okay, what is the policy on this? We started a company. We've gone through rapid growth. It's the single biggest thing I've got in place because I've had to go through and purge out that we had 3 different versions of the policy. So that's quite a big thing to think about. Your data. Um, but actually, we don't have a HR department yet with 15 staff. Someone could come and say, what's the holiday procedure? Cool. A HR agent just searches. It knows it looks at this specific set of data. It looks at this specific answer. It's got predetermined answers. Bang. Took us a couple of days to build. That saves a lot of money outsourcing or a lot of my time going back and forth. Sales agents, again, finding the right information. We've just finished a project with an experiential agency. They've got about 500 pitches that they've done. Now, 80% of their pitches is the same for different customers, different styles. But if they put in the industry, the customer name, it takes all of those old files, it spits out an 80% ready kind of formatted customer facing document. Again, just saving sort of some time there. Onboarding agents and onboarding optimizations and automation. One we're working on at the moment, and I know a lot of companies are doing this, is you put a username in, someone's full name and their staff identifier. Off the back of that, it procures the license, it organizes all their, sets off an automated order for stuff to be sent to their house. It puts all the stuff on board for sent to HR, ties into other things. So there's a lot of stuff, but at the moment, it's all around almost supporting a head of department or supporting that individual on the ground. That's where the agent piece is that we're playing in the space.
Mm. No, onboarding I think is a really good use case because onboarding is a pain, as we all know. Like I don't think I've had a pleasant. Have I? No, no. Any company I've joined, the onboarding there's been something that's gone wrong, or
Yeah.
I need something more. Or
I forgot to set the email address up.
yeah, exactly. It's like, does he have access to this thing? 10 emails later, I get access to something, and it can be. And you want that kind of reassurance when you're joining a company that these things are smooth and it all just happens seamlessly. So I think that's a really good use case for AI agents, as you said.
And I think as well is if you think of it, I'm getting a bit fatigued every time I log on to LinkedIn or every email. There's a new agent with a new capability, with a new product, with a new tool, with a new name or a new something. Ultimately, an AI agent is just mass data analysis and mass data manipulation. And if you simplify it, like I am the chief simplifier in my company because it's so confusing sometimes. But ultimately, the biggest question I'll ask someone is, what's your biggest bottleneck?
Yeah.
Tell me
Where
what
does
that
it
is.
hurt?
And where does it hurt? What stops you doing what you need to do? And whether it's your first time into a company, it's your first job, and you're sitting doing telesales all day, whether you're a consultant, we've all got individual stuff. And it's either we can give you a really good prompt, or there's quite a simple agent that we could just build, automation that we could build in the background that fixes it. The other one, which is really, really cool, it's probably one of the most fun ones we're playing at the moment, is it's a brand. It basically tells you how to be more on brand for that company. So you can create a graphic, you can create whatever, you upload it to the agent or the bot or whatever you want to call it. And it turns around and it's like, that color's wrong, that text is wrong. Here's a suggestion for the text. Here's what font you want. Here's the code. Here's a previous version we've done before. So it uses a bit of a vision and it kind of rations. That's really cool because the bottleneck, and we've started using it in ours. Again, we don't have a marketing department. We either outsource it or we do it ourselves. But if I create my brand guidelines, it means I haven't got people going renegade and posting stuff that I look at going, it's not really on point for us. So that's quite a cool one to do.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I like that because I do work in product marketing and I cringe sometimes when I see people with decks from like 2022, wrong branded, completely different fonts, formats, and they're presenting them to customers. And I'm like, are you kidding me? We gave you a brand new deck. It's just like, why aren't you using what we gave
But
you?
But that in itself, and we think about, I know that agents, and we're going to talk about this, are being overhyped and there's an agent for everything. But if there's an automation tool where I can just go in and go, what deck do I do for what template do I use for a customer this month? Right?
Yeah.
That's the win. That's a win. I don't care what anyone says. That's a massive win for me.
And if
So
you
I don't
can
have to be
say
asked-
then this is the deck, and can you please add me some sheets about this and this subject, and it will get sheets from different presentations and automatically get them in the correct format. That would be a lifesaver.
Yeah.
I'd love that. That'd be fantastic.
I'll send you it.
And a new
James, I'll
company.
send you the agent. You can have it. Well, you can have that one.
Sweet.
Yeah. Cool.
Excellent. No, I agree, and I think as you pointed out some key use cases, and you've talked about the fundamental thing, which is fundamental to anything we do in IT, is what is your pain point? What can I help you fix? That is, it's no different from us in end user computing to AI. This is what it's about. It's about what's the use case? How am I going to help this person? Otherwise, it doesn't matter. This is cool. I've heard numerous times, oh, that's really cool. Yeah, but does it do what you need? No. So that, so I think we've just talked about something that's fundamental to anything we're doing, essentially.
It's simplified, yeah. And look, I've been in tech for so long. I think my first job was I was selling VMware and Citrix and thin apps, and that was back in, however, that was a long time ago. DNS Arrow, that was called. Before they were Arrow ECS, it was DNS Arrow, based in Thiel. And I've worked across many tech stacks: Azure, cloud, HCI, server, virtualization, RDS, cows, all this stuff. And it comes down to, what you're about to buy, is it just a shiny wrapper of something fundamental that you haven't even nailed down? Like, there's a lot of like flashy tools I'm seeing. I'm like, it's all well and good, because we're agnostic, right? We play in the Copilot space mainly because it's the best space for us to play in right now. But if I'm consulting for a company, it's, why are you buying what you're buying when you haven't even got your data sorted out? You could go and spend £30 per person per month on this tool that's going to record your meetings and give you some really cool stuff, but you're paying for that already with Teams Premium, so you don't need to spend it. The other thing is, your data's not even good on SharePoint. So why don't we, rather than spend that money, why don't we sort your data out first and get you ready for AI and then start with the basics?
Gerjon, how many times have we talked about this? Is it every podcast episode?
Yes, we
Yes.
checked that one. It's for the viewers at home. The bingo card has been
One
filled.
lesson
Yeah.
anyone gets from our podcast is sort your data out. That is the fundamental thing. Before you start trying to build anything, if your data is not secured, not classified, don't even start.
And not up to date.
Go play with
what
some
you said-
toys in a kind of sandbox, but don't allow it into production until that data is all sorted.
If you have 3 versions of the same document, you're losing.
Exactly.
Well, I've got 52 versions of the same document in my SharePoint right now. I know there's version history. I know there's this cool stuff, but we're guilty of it, right? I was working with a production company up north, north of Watford Gap. For me, is north, if anyone's wondering. And they had like 800,000.
You're a true southerner.
I'm a true southerner, yeah. Watford Gap, that is north of the wall. But for me, it was like they had 850, 900,000 files on about 150 different SharePoint sites, because everyone create SharePoints in team channels in lockdown. that wasn't good, was it? That was a real fun time in the IT world.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you've got no security groupings. You've got multiple accesses going across multiple different teams. So you've got no security. Your Active Directory is just a mess. It's going to take about 4 months to unpick it. So why don't we just start from afresh, build a whole new SharePoint, take the data you want Copilot to see and take your AI to see, and then, rather than finding a needle in a haystack, let's build your haystack as we go along. But companies like, no, we're just gonna go
Organized
straight ahead.
haystack.
Yeah, an organized haystack with naming conventions. And, even customers, when we speak to them, you're like, you need to have labeling. Oh, I can't be bothered with that. I'm like, you need labeling. You need to label it. I don't care if you're not bothered.
Do you
You
want
need
someone
labels.
to use your AI and determine that what's the CEO's salary? Because if you don't have data security, that's the kind of stuff that, that could cause chaos.
I did some consulting on a fire service regional group commanders like SharePoint, and he was like, "Look, our SharePoint's in a bad way, but we want to get Copilot." I was like, I've got a love-hate relationship with SharePoint. I love it and I hate it at the same time. It's a necessity. But I was like, I'll come in, I can do some consulting for you. I can help look at within 15 minutes. Bearing in mind there was like 12 different fire stations and the group commander. Within 15 minutes, I had access to the group commander's legal documents, his divorce documents, his bank records, and everything. Because he was like, "Oh, that's just on my SharePoint." I was like, "It's not your SharePoint. This is a business SharePoint." So stuff like that is, the maturity model. Again, there's a big piece around data. It's all good turning these flashy models on, but we've not yet had a massive security breach. We've not yet had a massive meltdown. I think there's going to be one very soon.
Yeah, matter of time. And it's what you say. It all starts with educating the people that you have to put your books on the correct shelf. And if you don't put your books on the correct shelf, we're going to read the wrong books or not going to read them in the correct order.
Some people haven't even got a shelf. Right?
Just a pile of books somewhere.
I haven't got the books. Yeah. So yeah. Sorry for the tangent, but that's where we are.
No. Look, we bang this drum every episode because it is so fundamental. It's like everyone sees the flashy stuff with AI and we can do this and 50% reduction in costs and massive productivity gains, and it's like, how's your data? Yeah, about that.
Yeah. While we're on that one, I'd be interested to hear your on this as well. I really don't like return on investment when it comes to AI. Most businesses we speak to, they're like, what's the return on investment? And kind of the way I'm trying to phase it is, do not worry about your return on investment for the next 6 months. Worry about the innovation that comes off the back of it and then start looking. This isn't a product that, it's not like Azure where we can say, we'll shift everything to Azure. Here's your consumption fees. It's going to be 30% cheaper, right, than if you do it on-prem, or if you do this or employ this solution, it's going to have a direct saving. Companies kind of need to take a bit of a leap of faith on this at the moment, and it's a worrying thing, right? If my company, people ask me to start, taking a leap of faith, I need to think about it. But the return on investment piece, if I save myself 5 hours a week, I don't save myself 5 hours. I just do something else with it. Can't go and play golf. I'd love to go and play golf, but I can't. We're doing some work with a private equity firm, and we saved 100 hours across his staff, and he was like, I don't care. What do I do with it? And you're like, that's a really good thing to have. So rather than like this return on investment, it's kind of like, what's the return of the innovation I'm about to get? And it goes down to that triangle again. What's the individual needs? What's the departmental needs? Do you find that? Do you think ROI is a myth?
I have the same issue. We're a little bit in the same field. I also work a lot with Copilot Studio, and the discussion is always, okay, then we're going to save 2 hours for that staff member, but I can't fire him for 2 hours in a week. So what's he going to do at that time? And that's the discussion, saying, okay, it saves us time, but what we're going to do at that time? Are they going to drink more coffee? I said, well, perhaps, but also the return on investment might be on the more softer side. Less pressure to get the work done because you have more time, feeling a little bit more energized because you're not swamped all day. Those are more of the soft things that you can get when you do this kind of AI implementations. And it depends on who you talk to. But if you talk to the financial department, it's all about, okay, what's the ROI? If you talk to HR, it's more about the soft things. They find it more interesting. So it's also, you need to pick your audience a little bit. Not just talk to the financial guy. But it's the same issue. They say, okay, we're going to save that time. What we're going to do at that time.
What about you, James? Do you agree with that? Return on investment?
Yeah, no, I do. I hear all these things about, it saves 10 hours. Like, well, what does that mean? Like, I think one of the things that it doesn't just apply to AI. It applies to numerous things within IT. It's like,
Mm,
okay, if you saved and you've reduced all the mundane stuff, you allow people to then be more creative and
mhm,
innovate. And I think that's where the potential savings can come from in the future,
mm,
not necessarily, um, as you said, a return in cash or
mm,
whatever. So that's kind of where it is, because people, like, if someone in as we've talked about there, the onboarding process is streamlined, they're going to be more enthusiastic about what the company
mhm,
they're joining. If I don't have to go and tell numerous different people within the company that stop using that deck and it's
mm,
all done automatically, then I'm a lot happier because I don't have to get grumpy
mm,
because someone's using the wrong presentation. So I think as it's all on the softer side of things, and
mm,
freeing us, and I think that's a fundamental thing for me when it comes to AI, is
mm,
it's allowing you to, there's no bounds, like there's, it's the only bounds are your imagination, especially
mm,
if you come to, like, say, using something like DALI in chat GPT. Like, seriously, like, go create whatever image you want, because that's whatever the bounds are, whatever you can think of. And I think
yeah.
that's the kind of, that's where I see it from more kind of an innovation and creative standpoint, as opposed to a ROI standpoint.
Mm. Yeah, massively agree on that. You know, I'm really, I love AI more than any other tech stack I've played with because it allows me to basically, AI is there to make me good at things I'm not good at. Can it make me a presentation better than I can in PowerPoint? No, because that's all I've done all my life, right?
Mm.
What I can't do is I can't do Excel. I'm really bad at Excel, right? I can code, but I'm not great at coding. But it means that anything that's in my head, even from a graphic design point, I could just about use Microsoft Paint. I was trying to like, hash out a logo for something the other day. I literally got paint and just wrote the word and went, "Can someone design this for me?" But actually, going into I can draw something by hand. I'm not restricted by my inability to do something. And imagine that we have, you know, the people that we hire mainly from university. We're not a grad company, but we mainly hire people from university. We've got really incredible, talented people, but now we're unlocking a whole side of them they never thought they ever could use. I.e., I've got someone that's one of the best like Python developers I've ever met, but now they're also one of the best designers I've ever met because they know how to prompt correctly onto ChatGPT. That's scary. And for someone that runs a business and for people that helps other people run businesses, is you don't have to have someone, oh, that's the person that's really good at Excel, speak to them. Oh, they're on holiday. Oh, they've left. Okay, we've got everyone is now on that level playing field. So that's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing when it comes to AI, is like, we've heard this thing about, AI is going to replace you, and I've stolen this, you've probably stolen this as well. It's not
Mm,
AI it's going to replace you, someone using AI is going to replace you.
mhm.
And credit to whoever said that first. I've used that
Yeah.
thing so many times in so many guises, and I still haven't been able to find who did it. So
Mm.
if anyone finds it, stick it in the comments on the channel. I'd be really interested to know who it actually is. Maybe I should just go ask ChatGPT who wrote it.
Elon Musk said something similar to this. He's like, when we had horse and carts, we had blacksmiths to do the stuff. When cars were invented, blacksmiths didn't cease to exist; they just become mechanics. It's the same with mechanics as we've gone from simple engines to quite complex engines. Now we've
Mm.
gone to electric engines. Mechanics didn't cease to exist. Now you just have electric car mechanics. You have hybrid mechanics, and as we move more and more to that, we just evolve. I think alongside it, that people aren't probably one of the biggest things I talk about, and people are underhyping. We've got the overhype is the agents, and we'll talk about that. But the underhype is businesses are really going to need to change their business model at some point. If they're going to employ agents and automation, our main space is the legal space because it's data heavy. But lawyers don't want to automate. Lawyers,
Oh
because they bill
God,
by
no,
the
they
hour.
do not. No, they
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
I've worked with several law firms, and it was the worst IT experience of my life.
We took one legal firm. It takes about 6 working days for a human being to compile this thing. And I was like, insert name here. I've got you down to 22 minutes. And he was like, do not dare put that on my computer because that's 6 days of my time. And I'm like, ah. And now
Yeah,
the whole ethic conversation is do you want to do it for 22 minutes and bill for 6 days? And I'm like, can't do that. So what do you do? How do we change our business model around this? That's
Yeah, and the problem might be that if he doesn't do that, some other law firm might do that, and they can be
Yeah.
very cheap
Yeah.
comparison with the same quality, and
Yeah.
that's where you're gonna lose it. That's what you said, James. You're gonna someone with AI will replace you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with what Dan's saying about business models. Like, you know, we're in the very early stages of this, and because we're all in tech, like I you know, but even outside, you can see people are learning about it, knowing about it. My kids know about it.
My mum knows about it.
Yeah,
My
exactly. My
mum
mum and dad know
cannot
about it.
install an application on her phone. I love Sue with all my heart, but she cannot install an app on her phone without phoning me to ask how to do it. Yeah, she's like, oh, I went on to ChatGPT and used it to do X, Y, and Z. It was like, game
Create
changer.
a nice picture. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. My parents are not quite at that level yet, but they do know what AI is. They have heard of it, and that. But I suppose, I think that's the thing when we're in this kind of tech bubble. We think everyone is talking about it, and you find out, yes, they are starting to, but not at the same level as we're talking about it, and how life changing it is. Like, my wife's an academic, and she's only kind of like scratching the surface of it now, but she is seeing that, you know, that the potential it could have, in good and bad ways, obviously. So yeah, yeah, no, it is an exciting time. So let's talk a little bit more about agents. You know, we talked a little bit about um hype and reality. You know, looking more at what's real. As you said, you've presented some use cases, but there is, like, if I go on my LinkedIn thread, every bloody thing is something to do with an AI agent, and it's out of control. Like, the amounts of money that are being spent on AI agents is off the charts.
I just
VCs
think I
are
should
just,
quit my job and start a startup, call it something really flashy, .ai at the end of it, and then get
yeah.
VC funding for 10 million on my first round. Madness. Madness.
This kind of feels to me a little bit like there's a crash coming. A bit like the .com. Like, this hype is going to, like, there we know from Gartner there are all these hype cycles, and we reach this peak of disillusion, and you know, oh, it can't do what I actually wanted to do. So it seems, it seems like there's going to be a lot of companies that, yes, they may get 10 million in VC funding, but they're going to burn through it, like, at a rate of knots, and crash and burn.
I think on this one, if you are ingrained, Harvey, for a legal AI tool called Harvey, right? They've nailed it. It's called something that everyone recognizes after Suits, the TV show. Every lawyer and every legal firm.
I didn't get that yeah, of course. Yeah.
Harvey from Suits.
If you should have called it Spectre.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one. I forgot his name was Spectre. I was going to be really clever and be like, oh, that was Harvey. And that's why I just shut up and just went, it was Harvey from Suits. Look, that's got a really good case because lawyers and everyone from paralegal, from billable, from non-billable, from HR can use that. So if that as a company went out, got a load of funding because they know they have a huge market that is cash rich that will buy, game on. That's brilliant. The same in the accounting space. You've got people like Silverfin, you've got Vinyl, you've got a load of companies that are doing some great stuff. The hype is, and I think it follows NFTs, it follows Web3, it follows crypto, is people want the next big thing. We understand at the moment we are in a cash-rich, target-rich environment to build AI, to buy AI, to do what we want. And I think firms are just gambling on it. Because in reality, you know, look at ChatGPT. When it's also OpenAI as a business model, oh yeah, we only need X amount of million. Oh, we're going to do this. Now it's what? Just gone through 40 billion fundraising with a 300 billion platform. So anyone can do it.
The sums are off the charts. Like, they're crazy numbers, and you do kind of feel like even there is, like, some sort of kind of correction coming, and
100%.
And we are going to face something like the .com collapse.
What I personally, in my little opinion of my siloed mind that just sits here and talks AI all day long, I think what's going to happen, we'll see a correction in the next 4 or 5 years. It'll follow the cloud computing thing because there's not enough power at the moment. There's not enough infrastructure. There's not enough chips to run all these models. I personally think you'll see a big 3 or a big 4, much like AWS and Azure. You might have Microsoft here now to stay with Copilot and with their OpenAI platform in Azure, whether it stays in OpenAI or moves out. You might have Google and Gemini. You might have Grok or whatever Elon Musk decides to bring to the market, and OpenAI. And then everyone's just going to either be acquired by them or sit under those models and just build in those models. A bit like in the crypto space, everything launches under Sol or everything launches under whatever else it goes under. That has to happen. And then I think everyone's building something with a hope that one of those big 4 will buy or will acquire those company. Because if you look at Microsoft, their business model is we very rarely bring something to start on our own. We're just going to acquire and build. And the same with AWS, the same with Apple. And if we can get a tool out there that's got enough revenue and enough hype and enough backing behind it, then there's no reason why everyone at the moment that's clamoring to make their stake into the AI world would be purchased by them.
Yeah. And
if anybody wants to give me 10 million to build an agent, look, I'm up for it. Reach out to me.
Yeah. And maybe a bit less.
But then saying that, sorry, go on.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I was just saying, but then you look at what DeepSeek did. We'll talk about this because I know we're going to talk about open source. DeepSeek out of nowhere released a tool. I'll take this with a pinch of salt. They're like, oh, it's better than an OpenAI, which it is, capabilities-wise, deep research. It's free. It's only cost us X amount of million. I'm like, that's a lie. It has to have cost more than that, but they're putting it out there for free, which is a big. It crashed when they did that. Microsoft was it 4%? Microsoft dropped their entire stock, and you're like, that's dangerous. That shows how volatile this market is. And if it was stable, it wouldn't do that. So yeah,
it feels a little bit Wild West.
Let's talk a little bit about that because it seems that we're going to get to a stage where this stuff is commoditized. It's not, we're not going to be paying. Like, you could literally pay $2,000 for AI agent software. There's so many out there, and it just can't continue. And so or we get to the stage where, as you said, like, it's open source, but as we know, you can DeepSeek. Yes, they have put out a narrative that it costs setting. But we all know that's not true. It's not anywhere near true. But that's what they're putting out, so that's fair enough. It had the effect, as you said. It crashed Microsoft's stock price. It absolutely trashed OpenAI's. So I don't know.
Just focus on that. You've got a $3 trillion company. And they moved it 4% just by releasing something. Now, I'm also in two minds on this because China have an embargo, which means they cannot buy NVIDIA chips or get the hardware to do it. So that means they've either been a bit naughty and they've got those chips, or they've just built something incredible without it, which is equally as scary because at the moment, the whole world is built on NVIDIA.
Yeah.
So what's going on there? I would like to know on that one because hardware is expensive. And that's the other thing, right? We talk about this open source stuff. At the moment, we have an incredibly talented group of staff, but if you go to the mid-senior level, you've got consultants that can do change management, that can do everything. Do you know how hard it is to find an AI developer? It is really hard to find someone that has relevant experience. There's a lot of charlatans. I had someone the other day who told me they had 4 years experience in Copilot. I was like, it's only been out 17 months. Stop lying to me. You bastard. I was like, how have you got 4 years in this? You haven't got 4 years. But you say, we can have an open source tool and a business, say us three had a business and we were going to put an open source tool in. Well, who's got the program experience to deploy, build, and test in a secure and safe environment? It's great that we've got it and it shows capabilities, but there's not enough skilled staff for the next 6 months. And if they are, they're just getting eaten up by OpenAI. They're chucking like 500,000 packages at some developers.
Yeah, I saw... actually, I think it was Anthropic had a position going in Dublin, and a friend of mine is in the AI space. And I said to him, he said, I don't do that role, but I said to him, well, maybe you should, given that it's a 300k salary or something like that. So.
There was someone else sent over to you on LinkedIn. I was looking at it yesterday and it had the top 10 wages for AI developers. But these are people that need to be like proficient in everything, your Azure, your backend, your Bash, your Python. The highest one was the top three were OpenAI. Base pay $430,000, $400,000, $380,000, plus another bonus of 100% plus stock options. You're looking at $1 million packages for certain people. So don't get me wrong. Like I wish I got into that 10 years ago.
Yeah, we're in the
wrong
business.
But these are the tippy top of the skill set. But if you're looking at the bottom of the skill set, the only people you've really got at the moment are people who have learnt it at university that haven't got too much real world experience. So things like security, privacy, and your data orchestration, or you've got really talented Azure builders, developers around there that are trying to learn something new that probably can't execute to the best that they want to because they don't know how to. So for the next 18 months, open source is great. Would I put an open source into a business? Probably not. Would I put any model into a business at the moment? Probably not, apart from Copilot. It's the only one I'm really trusting because you've got good security. Everything else, I'm all right, thanks.
I'm good here. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be. We had the previous podcast was with someone who was doing private AI, and it turns complex really quick if you're building it on your own. But there are use cases when you want to do it offline because of the massive tokens cost that you can have.
Token, cache, and everything. You can burn millions of tokens just if you're doing the same. We're doing some offline stuff at the moment in the legal space and the finance space just because they're so heavily regulated. Some customers do not want anything AI going onto the cloud. Absolutely agree with that. So when you get into that custom build, we've got like a team of like 4 or 5 people. You've got an architect, you've got the builders, you've got the coders, you've got the testers. Then you have to work with someone very proficient inside that company to do it, as well as buying your own tools, your own models, training your own models, building an LLM. Absolutely is the best agent we could do. I'm not going to tell you what it does. It's the best agent for that business or what it can do. It's very expensive, but they will see a huge return on investment in that. But that is not something that every business can do.
No.
If I went to someone and said, cool, we'll build an agent, but the exploratory stage is going to be $15,000, $18,000, and then we'll come to you. Then you need to buy your own hardware. Then we need to train a model. Then you need to work out how you're going to fund that with your token and tokenomics. And then you're going to have your consumption, then the training, then the data. So actually looking at a 6 to 8 month project. It will change your world, but can you afford that in the manpower or the people power, let alone the cost of the software and everything else? And that's huge.
200,000 euros or pounds in costs.
Yeah.
And the outcome might still be a little bit unpredictable.
Still might not work.
Yeah.
It's not working, but it's not my fault. It's your data's fault. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, but you need to have a really big savings account if you have to have 400,000 euros or pounds available to do
cash rich.
That might help you. Yeah, and there's also the problem that it might help you. It has to do with hallucinations, all that stuff that I'm using. I'm an avid Copilot user. I work with Copilot Studio a lot, and it still sometimes can surprise me, even though I think, please use this document to create a presentation. It will create a presentation where I think,
you've got a meeting with Sam coming up, and here's a meeting you had last time. I'm like, that's not even Sam I had the meeting with. What are you talking about, Copilot? You're drunk. Stop talking to me. Big thing. Hallucinations.
Oh yes, yeah. No, I had a similar thing. Like we don't use Copilot, but we're using another tool called Fathom, and it recorded a meeting I wasn't at, and then it said my boss was coming to Europe, and I went and talked to my boss, and he said, "Are you coming to Europe?" And he went, because my boss is based in the US, and he went, "No." I think we got confused that I was at a conference somewhere, but it was like, I was like, he didn't tell me he's coming. Like, what the hell? I was getting pissed off until I went and talked to him. It's like, so you really have to be careful with this whole hallucination thing. So I just wanted to kind of start wrapping it up and looking at, what do you think the future holds, Dan, when it comes to agents? Like, we've talked about where they're at the low level of the triangle. What sort of time period do you think where we're kind of seeing them where they are autonomous? And then also, if they are autonomous, who's responsible for them? Like,
good question. Yeah.
So maybe if you can.
Yeah. Food for thought. One last little thing of what we mentioned before. It's incredible what you just said there around hallucinations. Sometimes it can't even understand what meeting I've got coming up. Or if I say how many S's in this sentence, it can't understand that. Yet we would like to trust it with running our entire HR department or running our sales department. No, but we're nowhere near that, I don't think, at the moment. I think that the future, the next 12 months are going to be crucial around security. I think everyone needs to nail down the security. It's underhyped. Security governance, I think we're going to see an explosion of just tell whoever starts the company that brings out like a governance board and white labels its company is going to be a millionaire overnight, because people are screaming out for that. We need to see a maturity in governance. We need to see a maturity in, actual ethical use of AI in businesses. What do we, what don't we, all this stuff on this. Misuse and disinformation is a massive thing. I know we have this listed down, but the whole misuse of AI in your business comes down to, who's responsible. If something goes wrong, does the person that sold you it, are they going to be responsible for it? I know that Microsoft back you and they'll pay it in court for anything it does bad, but if you're going with an open source or a low developer that's giving you something and it leaks information, there's catastrophic consequences for it. So what do I think is going to happen in the future? I think in the next 18 months, we will see the cost dramatically come down, because as anything comes to market more and it's being consumed, anything that's not good enough, I think, will die out in the next 12 months, because consumption, especially, I don't even know what's happening with the tariffs at the moment, but that's going to impact a lot of businesses, especially around on the hardware side of stuff, or if you're even into the consumption. Right. So I don't know what's going to happen with it, but we've already started having conversations with other people around that. I think we'll have a big security breach at some point. Someone is going to drop the ball hugely with AI, and it's going to start putting some stuff into place. We've already seen government push into guidelines and stuff around there. I think the future for agents is quite a good one. The more that we can see proof of value and we can see something actually working, like our business model is, if we create something for a customer and it's not specifically for their business, we will just then put it on marketplace and we will sell it to other people, right? We've done the dev work. We've done all the stuff we need to. That's how it's going to get cheaper on there. I think we're going to move out of the no code into the low code space. And we're going to see a lot more stuff around having a business impact. What was the last question? Oh, autonomous. I think there'll be certain industries where it can. Healthcare, the autonomous stuff in healthcare is going to be massive, but it still needs a human element.
Oh God, yeah. No, I'm not. No, absolutely no. No way.
I worked on a private model for. It was analysing MRI scans, and a human can analyse 2-3 MRIs in about an hour, do an accurate diagnosis, and we just put 500,000 MRI scans on a data repository somewhere with all the diagnoses. Upload it, and within 3 seconds, it gives you a percentage chance of what it thinks the diagnosis is. That doesn't mean that the diagnosis is going to be correct, but the doctor can look and go, actually, yeah, let's investigate that. So are we going to get to that point? I think if we stop thinking about agents as being autonomous and we think of agents being our mobile phone, the first thing I do is look at my mobile phone in the morning. The last thing I do before I get into bed is looking at my phone. My banking is through my phone. My work is through my phone. That's where agents need to be. At the moment, agents are just apps that we use. But if we can, I think agents will be ingrained into our life so much that we will have semi-autonomous agents for everything. And then the big companies with hundreds of millions to spend, and if you want to call me, I'll build you one, they will have the autonomous flashy stuff. But apart from that, I don't think we need to go down that route. Make it work for you. Why not?
Start at the bottom.
Yeah.
That seems a good point to kind of a good conclusion to kind of start at the bottom, see what works for yourself, and then go from there, and get the individual value before you kind of and sort your data out.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Just get SharePoint. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Just sort your SharePoint out.
Sort your SharePoint out. Yeah, exactly. Dan, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you both of you. It's awesome.
Yeah, that was been really good. Hope everyone enjoys the episode, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks very much.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.